I'm not just painting a person for the way they look. Like, I'm taking in how they look, thinking about it in my head, and what is being projected as like my perception of them. There's almost like an element that's a bit sometimes off-putting. It's really interesting to see how someone can interpret something that everyone else can see. Hi, I'm Lorena Levi and I'm an artist. I do narrative portraiture and I'm the 2022 winner of the Jackson's Painting Prize. A painting for me begins when I look at like a whole series and I think about a concept or a method of like receiving information for a narrative series. What I'll do is I'll first decide on the people that I'm going to speak to. I investigate a lot of things that I can find on the internet. I can find so many stories from like different pockets of it. I wanted to explore it in more unorthodox ways. So like going on things like chat room sites or going on forums, I guess collecting stories from people that we wouldn't have access to otherwise, people that maybe we don't want to really listen to otherwise. And with narrative painting, the main point of it is to be able to essentially show a story, show a narrative. And I think the best way to do it is like speaking directly to the source. And my work is super psychological. Well, since the beginning of really working on portraiture and painting, because I didn't want to just look at portraiture as like my sitters and me. I wanted to display a sort of relationship that I have with them or the relationship they have with each other and look at situations rather than just a pose. With the information that I get, I sort of decide what kind of painting I'm going to do from that. And then after, I'll construct an image using collage. That will be from found photographs, film stills, just anything that I can put together to basically construct a scene. When I'm actually painting, I use a lot of my memory or imagination. So with the chat room sites, the people that I spoke to were never the ones that I actually painted, but I used a lot of my memory of like what they looked like when we were speaking. And then I decide if I'm painting on wood or canvas. To be honest, it's mostly wood. I collect that. I go to a wood merchant, get my wood cut, and then bring it to the studio and just draw from the image that I've sort of collaged together and paint from that. I almost work in detail, just like creeping through the whole surface, then kind of adding onto it at the very end if need be. With wood, what I was able to do was really focus on the foreground, but then have this empty space in the back that could actually be used as almost like a narrative device. It didn't really give an idea of perspective. It didn't give an idea of exactly the space that these people occupied, because there's always a warmth that comes from the wood no matter what. When the wood would come through, it felt more intentional. It was a way of manipulating like a surface to kind of work for the painting rather than just kind of like putting paint against it. I tend to use smaller brushes when there are bits of detail with like folds of clothing or like little creases in the face. I struggle to like keep them going for like a really, really long time. It's annoying because I love them and then I have to buy more. I don't use a lot of oil paint each time that I work. I use raw umber, burnt umber, yellow ochre, like the three ones that I always use, and white, black, cadmium red, depending on what it is I'm painting. Either a lot or not very much of the like ultramarine blue. I pretty much only just like go through those ones. I don't feel like I kind of need any more. So my studio's in Tower Bridge. Tower Bridge is a very interesting location to work as an artist. You're not among other artists really, you're among people that work in the city and they've got like 9-to-5 office jobs. I work with VO studios. They rent these buildings and just turn them into art studios for like shorter periods of time. There are a lot of artists that work here. It's always growing and people really, really stick with it. I think everyone here really sees art as like a career, which is quite a wonderful thing to be a part of. The space I have, I share with someone else. And this space actually has massive windows. Like as a painter, it's like one of the biggest blessings to have like this much natural light. And there's a little pocket of the room there that's kind of, it's just got enough space to store canvases, wood. It just means that we've got so much more space to actually work and let things dry. It's a lot easier to just kind of have the things that I'm working on and then be able to just keep everything in one place, but then keep the surrounding area like relatively clear. It just kind of helps me, I guess, focus a bit more on like what I'm working with. good day in the studio for me is coming in at sometime in the morning, having an idea already in my mind as to what I want to paint. A good day is also like having those points where I know that I can sort of change direction that it's going in, but that really comes with like a good solid amount of time just for myself to really work things out. To be honest, the main thing is just time. My artistic background actually started from a really, really young age. My mum was really, really encouraging of that. And I think it started because when I was a child, I had spent a lot of like long stretches of time in hospital. At the end of school, I decided to do an art foundation. I did it in London. I think if I didn't do the art foundation, I don't know if I'd really do like a full degree. I applied for places in London and then I applied for Edinburgh. I really liked the idea of being able to study art and history of art, which is what that course was. And then at my grad show, things sort of picked up from there. I was able to sell some work that summer and I started working with an online gallery and then like a physical one. It got me quite excited to sort of continue down this path of art as a career. I thought about a project where I would look at published psychoanalytical papers online. So I went on a paper just titled Eric, and it was about a child and his mother and father. And I always saw it as like a film. I just visualized the scene of this therapist looking at this family. There was a lot of sort of uncertainty with the family and what was discussed and the child, because I think if a child is undergoing psychoanalysis for a lot of trauma, there's a heaviness to that. The turmoil that the parents had because the child is so young still, and also his relationship with the parents that I learned from what was written in the paper. I think my absolute favourite artist that I think I've gained the most inspiration from is Paula Rego, and she has been for years and years. I mean, Jordan Castile is one of my favourites. Just her whole compositions I find like so beautiful, but also kind of like quite overwhelming in a positive way. I really love David Hockney's scenes. I think anyone who does narrative paintings would massively respect his work. He is just a storyteller. I think what I like is like that I always find there's an element of humor. I think that's really important with work. Winning the Jackson's Painting Prize is an incredible feat in like continuing my artistic practice. I was at home and I just went on my emails. I opened it and it was, we want to say congratulations for like winning the Jackson Painting Prize. I kind of put my phone down and then I was like, wait. And I went back on it, called my sister and was like, wait, I think, I don't really understand. And she looked at it, she's like, what? What, the Jackson's Painting Prize? I was like, I almost needed her to validate what I was kind of thinking was going on. And it was just one of the most like bizarre, amazing feelings, because I felt this is now what's feeling like a career I can really, really push forward with. And I can feel validated with, and I can feel like people find my work at least interesting or exciting, which is kind of all I really wanted. I can keep working on what I really enjoy working on. I can get results from this because I just think it's so important and it's quite fundamental to keep going.